Right back to pain. Right back to the pain. So, it was looking good in the early games. And then originally I had Ja and Dame as my spend ups. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend up a little bit more to get Steph Curry over Dame. To get contrarian, I turn on the Golden State game. I see Steph Curry pick up 2 fouls in 30 seconds. I turn it off. I'm like, yep, I'm just going to start working on tomorrow because tonight is over. The two quickest ones I've ever seen in NBA history for Steph Curry. And then also I go back to my boy Yusuf Nurkic, 0 for 4 start and gets benched for Drew Eubanks. So I was just like, well, we're not winning money tonight, so let's just talk about this 6-game slate. But yeah, we can quickly go over my lineup here. So basically I do not have, that's from the night before. So let's go over the lineup from tonight, which is not winning any money tonight. It's not happening. Nope. So let's go over this lineup for tonight. And so in the early games, I had Bruce Brown, Denny, TJ McConnell, Bones, and Vlatko Kankar. I was looking decent. I was looking okay. But basically I knew I was going to play McConnell, and then I didn't know what else I was going to do because I needed to see what was happening with Denver. Once we got the Denver news, I moved some stuff around. Again, I totally originally had Dame, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend up a little more to get Steph to get contrarian, and was punished for it. And Dame has like 30 plus real life points, 8 assists. Like Dame has like 60 fancy points in the third quarter. So clearly I did not make the right decision there, but that's the lineup. Going to be a losing night, but yeah, is what it is. So frustrating. But also I saw Zach Collins goes for like 15 fancy points in 5 minutes. Come on, man. Come on. All right. The sponsor of this video, guys, is Prize Picks. You can use the code DKDFS for 100% match up to $100. So that's a free $100 to play with on the site. And keep an eye out for videos. I'll be talking about some props that I do like. Also be trying to do some streams here and there as well. So took over on the YouTube videos, took the over on Steph and Ja points. Right now it's looking like decent. Like they're both at I think 14 or 13.5. So it's like right on par to hit. We'll see. Hopefully both hit. But and then if you guys are looking for more in-depth content, you can check out my Patreon linked down below. Also, I'm going to be going on High Stakes, the podcast that Neil does, Neil Orfield on Stochastic. So if you guys have any questions, I retweeted it. I'm going to be recording that tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions for me, you can go ahead and leave them in the comment section there. And let's talk about this 6-gamer. So New York and Boston is the first game here. On the New York side, again, minutes. You're going to see close to 40 minutes from Randall, Brunson, and Barrett. I know technically it's not the best matchup, and there is a bit of blowout risk with Boston being pretty healthy besides Marcus Smart. But I still have interest in these guys as GPP plays. Randall's been relatively low on recently. Brunson, Barrett, I don't expect to get a ton of ownership, but I like these guys as a contrarian plays because if the game stays competitive, you're going to see close to 40 minutes. And this is where the offense is coming from, right? Like the Knicks are a very easy team to talk about because those three are doing everything. Jericho Sims is not doing much when he's out there. Quentin Grimes is going to stand in the corner, right? So the offense is Randall, it's Barrett, it's Brunson. Quickly at a sub 5K price point is always playable in GPPs. He's the one, relatively high usage player that will, come off the bench and chuck. Again, Grimes, he's going to play a lot. Most likely, he probably plays 30-ish minutes. Most likely won't do a ton with it, but he's got the shooting guard small forward eligibility, and the price has come down. So a little bit interested in him just for the minutes. Jericho Sims with 6 fantasy points in 25 minutes. How on earth is that possible? He's got power forward eligibility, though that's the one positive. Him and Hartenstein should split the center minutes. Hartenstein had the better game last game. I think both are fine GBP plays in Sims and in Hartenstein. I'm moving on to Boston. So Boston, we have Smart out, but everyone else is back. I think Tatum's a little bit overpriced. Not saying you can't play him. Not saying Jason Tatum can't have a good game here. But 11-2 with almost a fully healthy team is like, I'll probably look elsewhere for spend ups. Jaylen Brown at 9-4 also just feels priced about right. So I think both the Boston plays, spend ups at least, would be more contrarian. Now, with Marcus Smart out, I'm guessing that you get Derek White starting at the point. So I think they'll go Derek White, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Robert Williams. I think they want to continue to bring Brogdon off the bench. So Derek White at 5'9" with Brogdon back becomes a little bit riskier. Brogdon, we know, will be a good point per minute guy in the court. Just a matter of how many minutes will he play. So White, Brogdon, more secondary options for me. Robert Williams, been playing decent minutes, but it's kind of been quiet of late. I still like his upside in tournaments. Horford, just kind of indifferent on him. I think probably Grant Williams, Hayden Pritchard, a bit overpriced with some of these Celtics back. Chicago, Charlotte, another pretty easy team to talk about here. Chicago, DeRozan, Vooch, Levine. It's a great matchup for them. They're all going to play 35 to 40 minutes. I don't love the price points in any of them, but I like the ceiling. 9-1 for DeRozan, should play close to 40 minutes in a great spot. Vucevic has been playing extremely well of late. And Zach LaVine with the shooting guard, small forward eligibility was quiet last game, but still a guy that has the ceiling. So I've interested in all three. I think my favorite probably would be DeRozan, but all three are in play. I wouldn't call any of them priorities, though. Patrick Williams, when I finally don't take his under PRA, of course goes under, but when I take the under PRA, it's just his team, and he goes for a double-double and just can't miss. I think at this price point, more of just a secondary option, probably sees 25 to 30 minutes. The guards with Caruso, with Kobe White, with Ayo Dosunmu are all playable. I think Caruso is probably the safest minutes-wise. Kobe White will most likely be the most productive when he's out there. So all three of those guys are playable. Drummond really hasn't been seeing much run here. I mean, he's going to be very productive if he sees the court, but the minutes are just not there for him. So let's move on to Charlotte. Charlotte, we have Hayward and LaMelo Ball both questionable. If they're both out, we know Terry Rozier is going to run the offense. 8.1K is a fair price point for him in a pretty good matchup. The front court looks solid with Plumlee and Washington. Plumlee has been playing extremely well. PJ Washington has shown that ceiling. Those guys are going to look a little bit better, obviously, if LaMelo and Hayward are out. McDaniels will continue to start, assuming Hayward and LaMelo both sit. He should play around 30 minutes. He's fine. And then if LaMelo's out, you're going to get backup run for Dennis Smith Jr. 27, 29, 27 minutes over the last 3 games. I think he's a pretty good value play. Not a bad point per minute guy, only 4.5K. And then we all thought Mark Williams was in the backup 5 last game because he's been playing well. Nope. They pulled the rug and went to Nick Richards. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't. If you want to try to take a shot in one of the backup centers, you can. Just know there's definitely DNP risk. Detroit and Brooklyn, another team. This Pistons team is just awful. Stewart's questionable. Livers is questionable. If Stewart is out, I think my favorite play on the team would be Jalen Duren, who, when I faded, went for 50 fantasy points. But the one thing I will say about Detroit is not every time, but there are times where when they do get blown out, they still give their young guys like Ivy, Hayes, and Duren run. Those guys can close games in a blowout. It doesn't happen every time, but it's definitely possible. So, this game has blowout risk, but still have some interest in the guards and Ivy and Hayes for tournaments. And then if Stewart's out, I like Duren the most. If Stewart's in, I think there's no one that I really like on this Pistons team. Bogdanovich is always playable in tournaments. He's the guy with the highest ceiling most of the time, but in a blowout, you're not going to see Bojan closing a game. The big news, obviously Stewart. If he's out, it's going to make Duren look a lot better. On the Brooklyn side, if the game stays competitive, really like the upset in Kyrie. He's been playing extremely well of late. 10.3K is a fair price with no Kevin Durant. Claxton, Ben Simmons, both fine tournament plays. Claxton, the prices come up. Ben Simmons has not been closing games recently, which is a bit disappointing. Royce, Seth Curry, they should play. Royce probably plays mid-30s minutes. Seth Curry probably 25 to 30. You'll get rotation minutes for Warren, get rotation minutes for Harris, but none of the value plays really stand out to me. Watanabe will play some rotation minutes as well. Cleveland and Houston. So Donovan Mitchell is technically listed as questionable, but they said he could miss multiple games here, so I do not expect him to play. He didn't practice today either. So with that being said, I think Cleveland's probably my favorite team to target on this 6-game slate. I really, really like the Cavs. Garland, 8-6, I think stands out as one of the best spend-ups on the board, assuming Mitchell does not play. He'll be the go-to guy, probably play close to 40 minutes. LeVert will move into the starting lineup. He'll be the secondary playmaker. He's got shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He would look really good. The front court looks a little bit better with Mobley and Allen. I don't love the price points in either, but it is a great spot against Houston that plays no defense. I'll even mention Okoro. He's been playing a little bit better of late, 20-plus fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games. Normally, he is just an awful point per minute guy. I still don't really buy into it, but he's cheap and probably plays decent minutes. If you want to try to take a shot in Kevin Love or Chetty Osman in tournaments, that's fine. Both these guys are good point per minute guys. However, the minutes, right? Like Chatty was basically DNP last game. We're not great. Kind of with Ricky Rubio too. Like we know he's not going to play a ton, but he'll see rotation minutes. So you want to try to take a shot on one of those cheap guys for tournaments, that's fine. And it's a really cheap price point for Kevin Love. Like if you told me Kevin Love was going to play, I don't know, 20 minutes tomorrow, he would be like, if I was building 150 lineups, I think I would have 150 Kevin Love. Like, so I definitely have some interest in him for tournaments. I just have no idea what the mint's going to look like. On the Houston side, can I victory lap this yet or what? Am I allowed to victory lap this? Am I? You guys tell me. Am I allowed to finally victory lap my boy Sengun? I've been preaching all year is the best player on this team and that he should be playing more. Triple-double tonight. He smashed. So, don't love the matchup for him. Don't love the price, but I think he's still a pretty good play at 8.7K. Jalen Green, we know, is up and down. He's always viable for GPPs with Kevin Porter Jr. out. You got Jabari Smith back, so that kind of takes Tari Eason out of play. And then Martin, Gordon, they're both kind of secondary plays. They'll see low 30s minutes. They're both playable, but neither of those guys are priority plays for me. So, yeah, main interest is definitely my boy Sengun. Dallas and Phoenix, so the Luka stuff, man, I just can't. I told you guys, like, I originally had him last slate, but then pivoted to prioritize Tyler Hero. And, of course, he goes for 70. It's just like, I just knew it was going to happen. I knew it. Like the upside of Luka, he's playing a ton of minutes. If you feel comfortable with enough value, definitely go get him. Don't think Christian Wood's going to be back. Dwight Powell will start if Wood is out. He played a really good game last game. That was definitely an outlier, so don't expect 37 again from Dwight Powell. We most likely get like 25 minutes and probably like 15-ish fantasy points from him, which makes him a fair value play. Dinwiddie and Hardaway, those are the guys in the mid-range that have the ceiling, but they have still shown a floor playing alongside Luka because Luka just does everything for this team. Value-wise, I think Dorian Finney-Smith, probably your safest bet. He should see low to mid-30s minutes. It's fine. If you want to try to take a shot on Josh Green off the bench, I don't mind it. He played 32 minutes last game, is relatively cheap at 3.5K. Phoenix. So Phoenix looks pretty good here too. Ayton is expected back. I think Chris Paul, sub 8K with no Devin Booker, looks really good here. A guy that will do everything for the team, be the go-to guy. I like Chris Paul. I think DeAndre Ayton looks pretty good too. Should be able to feast against Dwight Powell. So Paul, Ayton, both look good. I think Mikal Bridges is fine at 7.3. He's a guy that can kind of contribute in a lot of different ways. Didn't have the best game last game, but that game did blow out. Cam Johnson, on the other hand, had a really good game. He shot 9 of 11, but only played 18 minutes because of the blowout. 5.3K, I think he looks like a pretty good play there. Don't know if I can get to anyone else. Torrey Craig should see 25 to 30 minutes. Sarge will see rotation minutes off the bench. I don't really think I can get to like Damian Lee or Saban Lee. I just don't think they're going to play enough right now. So we'll finish up with the Spurs, who are on a back-to-back. And with Langford missing last game, they dusted off Keita Bates-Diop. It's like you just never know why are we starting Keita Bates-Diop? But he did start. So if he starts again, Keita Bates-Diop is the flat min price. I want to see how many minutes he finishes with tonight. But if Bates-Diop plays like 25 minutes tonight, and he starts again, I think he's a solid value at the flat min price. The upside here is both Keldon, Trey Jones, and Pirtle. Pirtle's been quiet of late. He didn't have the best first half. He finally stayed out of foul trouble. Only played 12 minutes, though. More of a tournament-only play. Trey Jones, pretty safe. We know we're going to get from him probably low 30s minutes, probably low to mid-30s fantasy points. The ceiling is the highest in Keldon Johnson, but he's a guy that has let me down consistently this year. Value-wise, Jeremy Sohan, 4.8, pretty safe option, so should see around 30 minutes. Josh Richardson probably sees low 20s minutes. I think he's fine at 4.4. Collins been playing extremely well as the backup 5. We'll see what the ownership comes in at him, but he's a good point per minute guy. And I don't really think I get to anyone else. I mean, McDermott started the game like 0-5, but he'll see rotation minutes too. Malachi Branham will see rotation minutes. So the Spurs just run a deep rotation. It's typical pop. And finally, the Clippers. So Clippers still no John Wall. Luke Kennard, I believe, is questionable, and Marcus Morris is questionable. So we'll see about that. If Morris is out, you probably just get more run for guys like Batum and Covington, who would look a little bit better. I would guess you just get Batum in the starting lineup if Morris is out, and then Covington probably plays a little bit more. So both those wings are going to look better if Morris is out. Top end guys, Kawhi, 10K. He feels priced about right. I like to price a bit more with Paul George at 8.5, who played 36 minutes. I think he looks pretty good in both formats. Norman Powell, been playing well off the bench, is a guy that's going to come off the bench and chuck. I like him at 5'8" in tournaments. Zubac is always a guy that has a ceiling, but he's just so up and down. I never know what to do with Ivica Zubac. Terrence Mann minutes have kind of been all over the place. 21, 18, 26 minutes over the last 3 games. That's not amazing. Like, the minutes have been ticking down on him. Reggie Jackson had a really good game off the bench. I played him in the showdown last night, so that worked out in a big way. If Kennard and Morris are both out, then yeah, I think he's playable in tournaments. Most likely, Reggie probably plays high teens to low 20s minutes, but at only 3.5K, I think it's at least in consideration slate. So that is going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Appreciate you for watching as always. Again, make sure to check out the High Stakes podcast tomorrow. I'll retweet it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.